Peace family. This is Daku. Today I want to answer the question, why do I talk about growing food so much when I used to talk about smashing white supremacy? Those that do not produce things for themselves have difficulty understanding the motivation for destroying white supremacy because, usually, they themselves benefit from white supremacy. I encourage freedom fighters and would-be freedom fighters to produce their own food, clothes and shelter, because those that produce for themselves are more likely to resist and destroy white supremacy than those that are dependent on the white supremacist for all their daily needs. To illustrate this, I want to share with you a short history of the Billy Bowlegs War. I will be taking excerpts from the book, The Billy Bowlegs War. Who was Billy Bowlegs? Plantation owner Robert Gamble had called Bowlegs a very handsome man. About the medium stature, strong and active, bright, cheerful and pleasant in manner. A journalist described him as not at all modest, surly, cross and unmanageable, a wily, dangerous foe of the white man, probably because the chief had adamantly refused government offers to have his people relocate to Arkansas. Gamble met Bowlegs through Tiger Tail, a dark-skinned man more than 6 feet tall who wore a strip of panther skin from his belt. Tiger Tail lived on land that was claimed by a white man, so when Billy Bowlegs and his compatriots needed a place to rest, Tiger Tail asked the white man's permission. The white man, Gamble, agreed to let them rest. Gamble's daughter was named Mary and she proceeded to converse with Billy Bowlegs. Chief Bowlegs told her that Seminoles disliked brutal murder, that when they killed as quickly as possible. For them, this was a point of honor. No longer fearing Bowlegs, Mary eventually invited him to share a meal. After dinner, they sat on the porch and Mary, with forced casualness, asked, "If there should again be an uprising among your people, would you come back and kill us?" Bowlegs didn't laugh. He locked stares and answered earnestly, "Oh, yes, kill. But I do it easy." After the chief and his compatriots rested, they proceeded home. Finally reaching home, on December 23, 1855, Billy stood in what had been his garden, what had been several acres of banana stalks more than 15 feet high and assorted vegetable patches, what had been his choicest possession, what he had tended for gifts to his friends and as treats for Seminole children in the surrounding big cypress swamp. Now the stalks were broken, the pumpkins smashed, the squash trampled. And Bowlegs knew who was responsible. He walked 2 miles to a low clearing flanked by palmetto and pine hammocks. For 2 weeks, Lieutenant George Hartsuff's men had been surveying the area for the U.S. Army. Bowlegs suspected this survey of being yet another ploy by Secretary of War Jefferson Davis to establish more military posts on Indian turf. Bowlegs wanted peace. He had always encouraged his people to stay away from white settlements so those settlers would have no reason to trouble Seminole villages. However, settlers still considered them unwelcome neighbors and demanded their removal. Chief Bowlegs approached the soldiers. Several men at the cook tent immediately started mocking Billy and confirming his suspicions. "What's the problem, Chief?" "You know the problem." The men coolly and readily admitted their guilt. Blood now stained Billy's thoughts. White man's blood. He wanted it and thought he was owed it. The time of his patience and playful laughter had passed. One by one, after being contacted by his messengers, braves arrived at Bowlegs' secluded camp. The chief dipped his fingers in a pot of red paint and smeared war colors onto each man's face. Soon, the stomping of a campfire dance and the chilling cries of warriors awaiting battle penetrated the thick woods. Had any settlers heard them, little imagination would have been, to envision the immediate future. The destruction of the chief's garden food supply was enough to abandon any idea of peace. Chief Billy Bowlegs took the destruction of his crops as a declaration of war and he responded in kind. The federal government established a $500 reward for the capture of Bowlegs and his bloodthirsty band. Even so, Bowlegs' warriors resumed striking north and south during a 2-month period. Let the story of Chief Billy Bowlegs remove your lack of understanding. As we've told you many times before, growing your own food is a revolutionary act. Billy Bowlegs was not just a gardener. He was a leader and a warrior. This article was written by Daku Akabo wa Akatu.